The Arizona Cardinals are expected to stay put at number 4.
I have their pick. They already got it in. They ran that fast.
Yeah.
Woo! But I have their pick.
It's Marvin.
Yeah,
it's Maserati Marv, as Gus Johnson would say. Brett and Scott, I'm gonna have you guys talk on Maserati Marv. Marvin Harrison Jr. Scott, I know your model. It's tough without athletic measurements for a guy, but a pretty damn clean prospect.
Yeah, so he was clearly my wide receiver 1. I think he's deserving of the 101 in super flex drafts. I don't know if I'm going to go that route myself, but I think he's deserving of that just based on the profile. What an unbelievable team fit. Like, there isn't a more perfect fit in this entire draft. Arizona last year, they were really strong against zone coverage. That's because Trey McBride ranked 15th among all players, I think 2nd among tight ends by fantasy points per route run against zone. Against man, they were easily a bottom 5 team. Rondale Moore and Michael Wilson both ranked bottom 5 in yards per route run against man of like 115 qualifiers. I think Michael Wilson had only 18 total yards against man coverage. And so this is exactly what they need. They need an outside alpha wide receiver 1, elite man beater. And that's what they got. And so this just really unlocks this offense. Super exciting. Going to be immediately dominant for fantasy, I'm pretty sure. And that's how I'm viewing it. Brett, what do you think?
I'm just glad he didn't slide. There was talk, that Malik Nabers could go first. And it's like, if you had 4 quarterbacks, like, he's probably the best player in the draft. Like, for sure the best non-QB. I'm just glad he didn't slide. He's way too good for teams to pass on him. I love that the Cardinals got him too. I mean, it's awesome. Kyler Murray, his value in Dynasty just skyrocketed, in my opinion.
Open proposition to Marvin Harrison Jr. For the first time in my life, I recognized that Marvin Harrison Sr. and by extension, Marvin Harrison Jr. have both wet bandits in their name, Marvin Harry. And I think the Sticky Bandit is a phenomenal nickname for a wide receiver. So Marvin Harrison Jr., here is my proposition to you, the new Arizona Cardinal. You come once on the Fantasy Points podcast, and I will give you the Sticky Bandit nickname for free. You can use it without licensing. I think that's a fair trade, guys. The Sticky Bandit, Marvin, way better than Maserati Marv, as Gus Johnson was trying to make happen. But Marvin Harrison Jr., I think Jim Irsay is the most devastated man on planet Earth right now, because that man has been dreaming of Marvin Harrison Jr. and Arch Manning in Colts uniforms. Sorry, Anthony Richardson, but that's just the way Jim Irsay is clearly thinking. Where are we ranking Marvin Harrison? I mean,
I have no idea. I have no idea, but he's going to be going super early.
Do you know where he was going even before the draft on Underdog Fantasy? Wide receiver 9, 15th overall.
Wow.
That's kind of wild, in my opinion, right?
That won't change either, right? Because he went to the exact landing spot everyone thought he was.
Well, right. That's where people were projecting him, and they projected him because, if he was getting drafted either here at 4 or at 5 with the Chargers, he was going to a team that had a huge need for a number 1 wide receiver.
Yeah. Real quick, I wanted to shout out. We're closing on 4,000 viewers right now. That's
wow.
Nice. Yeah,
I really appreciate that. Thanks, everybody. And keep that going over at YouTube, please. YouTube.com/fantasypoints, and click on the subscribe button. The link is underneath the tweet you're watching this on right now. We are going over to YouTube exclusively after the 5th pick.
I'm a Giants fan, so if they get JJ McCarthy, your QB1, I am head over heels, super excited. They could do a lot of different things here. They can go wide receiver. They can get a tackle. And so that could really help the offensive line, because Evan Neal should be a guard. So you kick him inside, and that offensive line goes from like bottom 3 to at least middle of the pack overnight. But I'm rooting for JJ. That excites me, even if it does buy Brian Dable a few extra years. Because like my real hope is Belichick next year and then Arch Manning after that. But yeah, I would like that.
So
and we know JJ's kind of likes them, I think, or he said he's met with them more than any other team.
They did the most work on him too. Like, of all the quarterbacks, they did by far the most work on JJ than anybody else.
The New York Giants need wide receivers, and they just took one.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
The Giants took Malik Nabers.
Rome. Whoa. So I love that for them. I really do, because for fantasy, like, I think people are going to think this is a bad landing spot because the quarterback play is so bad. But to me, like, they have no receivers. They've needed to draft a receiver for I don't know how many years now. Darren Waller's poised to retire. I think he can be their clear wide receiver one. And then beyond that, I think he can do that, all the Wan'Dale Robinson stuff that Brian Daboll loves, but at a much higher level than Brian Daboll. So I think he has like a super underrated floor, a nice ceiling, and he's a yak god who excels in the short area, which can help mitigate the quarterback play concerns. That's exciting for me as a Giants fan, and as someone who already has quite a bit of exposure to Malik Nabers.
I want you to understand that this is not like oh my God, this is a massive red flag. You said his production profile was somewhat fraudulent. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. So, man, sorry, I got JJ on the mind. I got JJ on the dome. Let me transition.
You're shook.
Well, no, real quick before I get to that, this will help me relieve my mind. So, yeah, I said my demeanor would change. I wanted JJ to go 6 because there's so many haters. I wanted him to go to a bad spot and then tear it up. I don't want him to land to Minnesota at 11 because it's too easy. They got bookend tackles. They got Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson. As soon as he tears it up in Minnesota, everyone's going to chirp and say, well, he landed in the best spot. Yeah, well, so hopefully Denver trades up and grabs him or something. I don't want him to land in Minnesota. I also don't want the Lions to have to play him twice a year. Anyways, got that off the dome. Now I can focus on Malik Nabers. Malik Nabers' production profile is absolutely fraudulent. It doesn't mean he's not a good player, but when I watched his tape, the thing that stood out, most of his big plays, and I'm talking all the highlight reel stuff you see on Twitter and ESPN and yada, yada. Most of those highlight plays, that big time production, it came from the slot against quarters coverage, 2 high safety looks where he's basically getting free access into the second level. He's getting isolated on a safety, an inferior athlete at the college level. A lot of times guys that are, going to be bagging groceries next week. And it's just a really easy win for a slot receiver, for an elite slot receiver like Malik Nabers. We've seen other high picks have the same production profile, whether it was Elijah Moore, Wan'Dale Robinson, Tutu Atwell. They won the same way. Vertical routes from the slot against quarters coverage. It's just it's the biggest cheat code in college football right now. And so when I say, his production profile was similar to those guys, I'm not saying he's destined for the same fate. It just, if you're elevating Malik Nabers because of that production, and I know Scott's analytical model might have some adjustments for it, other people's might not, though. And so if you're elevating him for his elite production profile, I think it's important to shed some context on it. I mean, I'm watching the highlights they're putting on ESPN right now, and they're literally just proving my point for me. We're seeing double moves against flat-footed safeties in quarters coverage where he's taking them 50 yards deep on a bomb. So it's just not – it's not translatable to the NFL, unfortunately.
But you're not. But you're also saying it's not like his traits suck, though.
Correct. Yeah, I think he does have a lackadaisical approach to route running. I don't think he's the most disciplined route runner at all right now, but he has all the physical tools to be excellent in every facet of the game. Reminds me a lot of Jamar Chase, actually, when Chase came out. Chase, people didn't knock him for it for whatever reason, but a lot of what he did was contested catch. Just throw it up. I'm going to go, moss the dude that's covering me. A lot of it was run after catch. There wasn't a whole lot of route running in his tape. So, and I see Nabers is kind of the same way. But anyways, I love Nabers as a prospect. He's top, 12 for me, Joe. I didn't buy
He was your wide receiver 3 in an unbelievable class. So
exactly. He would have been my wide receiver 1 by a mile last year. So just putting that in context.